Hello everybody. Now we'll look at the effects of global warming, the climate impacts. Climate change is a global phenomenon that has very different regional impacts. The global mean temperature has risen by 1 degree Celsius since industrial times, but regionally the temperature increase looks very different. An increase of 1.3 degrees Celsius was recorded for the same time period in Germany, and the air temperature in the Arctic has increased by 1 degree Celsius per decade. That means nobody lives in the global mean. How then does the temperature in specific places and regions change, and what impact will it have? What are the actual consequences? Well, we asked Professor Hermann Lotzer-Kampen, head of the Climate Impacts and Vulnerabilities Research Domain at the Potsdam Institute for Climate Impact Research.
The IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, collated a large number of climate impacts on different global regions in its 5th assessment report, which was published in 2014. The knowledge base on climate impacts has improved significantly since the 4th assessment report. There are more studies on individual areas and better, more robust results. Climate impacts differ in various regions across the world, and there's also a broad range of climate impacts in the various sectors, such as agriculture, water, ecosystems, etc. This results in a mosaic of climate impacts that we see on this map, which summarizes current findings for the individual regions and sectors. Let's look at 4 examples of climate impacts that are already being observed in this mosaic. Glaciers in South America are increasingly melting, which could lead to more flooding in the short term, but also to drinking water scarcity or more general water scarcity, for example, for agricultural irrigation in the longer term. We have observed more frequent flooding in Europe to some extent. For example, we have had extreme flooding of the Elbe River in Germany and the Czech Republic twice in the past 15 years alone. Agricultural production in West Africa is partly limited due to changes in temperature and precipitation. A final example. We have observed changes in the coral reefs in Australia, where corals are being damaged due to increased sea level rise and increased concentration of CO2 in the ocean, which could also lead to the loss of these valuable ecosystems in the future. Overall, we can see that the various climate impacts in the various regions and sectors gradually come together to form a mosaic. However, the question is, how many pieces of the mosaic do we actually need in order to obtain a good overall picture of the impacts and consequences of climate change? After all, it is not strictly necessary to know every single detail to take important decisions. Also in other areas, decisions are constantly taken in circumstances of uncertain or incomplete information. For example, you probably choose your field of study or training without previously knowing whether this would be the right path for you. However, this uncertainty is no reason never to start studying or training at all. The same holds for taking decisions and concrete measures to adapt to climate impacts, as well as reducing greenhouse gas emissions. We can and we should begin both adapting to the consequences of climate change and preventing emissions, even if we do not yet understand all the implications. In any case, the gaps in the climate impact mosaic are being filled with more scientific evidence. This means that our understanding of climate impacts across regions and sectors is constantly improving.